Chapter 5, Mobile Cities of Light. These communications are the second in a three-part series of conceptual transmissions concerning events now transpiring within the field of magnetic influence around the Earth. The first of these revelations occurred during a period of time from 1967 to 1969. These current transmissions are part of a series being sent during the years 1977 to 1979. The last of our communications to take place on conceptual levels will be sent during the years 1987 to 1989. All three periods of transmission occur within what we call the period of individual awakening, the first of the three major historical periods still before you. As you read these words, only a handful of your species are able to conceive of themselves as one consciousness, one being, expressing itself simultaneously through a multitude of apparently separate forms. This will not be the case a decade from now. 10 years from now, there will be many working signs and wonders in the name of Christ. 20 years from now, individual awakenings to the reality of Christ consciousness will be commonplace. 30 years from now, there will be a sufficient number of healthy functioning holoids to consciously undertake the final cycle of creation on this level. A period of years will follow these transmissions, during which those of you who have awakened to the new way of being will become grounded on your new level of unified consciousness and construct, with the collective power that will flow through you, a biogravitational field of sufficient intensity to draw into it, through a process of rhythmic entrainment, the rest of your race. This will initiate the second period before you, the period of planetary awakening. This period will last 1,000 years. During this time, we will grace your planet with physical manifestations of our angelic extraterrestrial presence. Together, we will work to prepare for the third and primary period of your time cycle, the Age of Discovery. At this time in your racial experience, most of you are not yet ready to enter into a closer working relationship with us, but we will prepare you during the next 20 revolutions of this planet around the sun for the time when your collective vibrational patterns are such that we can blend with them on a large scale. We are still experimenting with various ways and means of accomplishing our task of awakening. But with the increasing ease of direct informational exchange, our work within the currents of your history will probably subside. We hope it will not be necessary to shake you out of your exclusive past-future-oriented focus on form through any of the cataclysmic events foretold in your various prophecies. We will use these, if we must, in order to protect the biosphere of this planet, but if you follow through on the information we are clarifying, there is no reason why we should have to resort to such extreme measures. Through these transmissions, and through many others like them throughout the earth, we are supplying you with more than enough information to enable you to restore your own equilibrium. We are allowing a certain amount of ecological destruction to take place without direct interference, because such destruction may help to precipitate a voluntary and cooperative return to a pre-fall state. This would be far more meaningful than a return that is forced upon you. A self-initiated awakening will greatly enhance your ability to restore the Earth's ecological harmony. Consequently, at this time, we are confining our help as much as possible to the provision of information and to the development of conceptual clarity. Meanwhile, there are many among you who will, as the years go by, experience one by one the necessary psychological transformation and enter into a conscious working relationship with those of us in a state of grace. During this coming 20-year period, we will be largely occupied with the conceptual education of your species. But after that, during the last 10 years of this present cycle, we will withdraw our activity on conceptual levels and focus more directly on physical and emotional levels. This is where the real work needs to be done. The establishment of a conducive conceptual climate, however, is prerequisite. During our first large-scale entry into your historical process in the late 60s, we learned much of the materializing patterns that presently restrain and define your collective expression of consciousness. Our experiences at that time and during the years that followed have formed much of the conceptual basis for these transmissions. At that time, the members of your species most responsive to our descending vibrational patterns were those who had not yet assumed clearly defined social roles. Esoterically, these individuals could be said to have had loose etheric bodies, but practically they were individuals in transition, with few vested interest in the status quo. What made these individuals responsive to our presence was the fact that they had relatively flexible conceptual structures. Within them, we could plant the seeds of our life-giving information with the greatest chance for successful germination. We chose the years 1967 to 1969 for this first large-scale experiment because at that time in your global civilization, there was an entire generation coming into maturity that was receptive to change on a planetary scale. The children of this generation will be those who will participate on many different levels in the great revelation of the late 80s. This will be a truly momentous time, a time when the first contractions of birth are unmistakable. A large part of the purpose for these present transmissions is to prepare the parents of this generation for something unprecedented that is to appear in their children. Our communications during these closing years of the 70s are reaching past the social fringe of your culture that was contacted during the 60s. This time we are reaching deep into the heart of global civilization. We are reaching many who are in what we call lubricatory positions in your society. Individuals working in factories, teaching in schools, building your cities, and expanding your science. We are not in much direct contact yet with government officials, nor with world bankers and international financiers. In most cases, these elements have surrounded themselves with ego mechanisms too complex to penetrate at this time. Our first contacts with them will occur during the more powerful transmissions of 1987 to 1989. Those who we are contacting now, nonetheless, are critical enough in the maintenance of your social systems to ensure that the world will make some incredible leaps in consciousness during the next decade. The majority do not have room in their belief structures to accommodate so grand a being as an angel or extraterrestrial, so they respond to our influence as if it were coming from themselves. They feel good, they feel clear, they feel the changes in the air, they wake up a little, throw off some of their defense mechanisms, and bring a newer and fresher perspective into each situation. Consciously or unconsciously, they began to adjust their vibrational patterns to more thoroughly accommodate the flow of spirit through them. At times they change radically and attribute their transformation to this or that mechanism. We simply laugh. We do not care how the change comes about as long as it does come. Those who are not yet sensitive enough to sense our presence feel us as a high, as clarity, or as peace. All we touched are changed in some way. If it seems to these people that the changes originate within themselves, this is all the better, for in fact they do.